Last week in the Nurse Boss Shift.
So I've been a nurse for about 22 years. My background includes cardiac neuro, trauma, intermediate care.
Now, mind you, this was a room full of, I would say 80% Black people who were in there. And she said, so they were talking about like, oh, wow, she's amazing. You know, we were all just like, oh, she's a lot. And then she goes, but aren't you worried? Like, don't she seem aggressive? You know, that's the buzzword they use for us.
I basically empower nurses to break through from burnout and build generational wealth, right? Because what I learned in starting my own business is that that's what it's about. My annual salary, which I just told you I thought was a really pretty good salary, but I just made this in this amount of time, and this is my annual salary, right? I was like, okay, more nurses need to know about this. More nurses need to know about this.
A question. This is kind of I have two questions. The first one is about your role as an executive nurse, because a lot of nurses, and myself included, when we started the journey, we saw ourselves as, well, I know I wanted to go to the top, wherever the top was. And at the time it was like CNO or chief nurse exec, whatever. I'm like, that's where I'm going. And then along the journey is when I started finding out, like, and just really putting things into perspective, like, do I really want 24-hour accountability to anything other than my family? Like, it isn't really worth it financially, because 24-hour accountability is just not something that I'm willing to do. When I started thinking about it, like I kind of went into that intermediate role as house soup. And then I started to see, like, I'm calling they on vacation. I'm calling them in the middle of the night. Like, I don't want that. And I, as a mentor, I have worked with nurses in executive roles who are, for me, it's such a no-brainer. It's like, you have so many skills that you can help other people. You can do this and bring in so much more revenue than you are having somebody accountable to somebody's business 24 hours. So what would you say to those who are in the leadership role at their companies, who realize it ain't cracked up to what they thought it would be, right? They had a rude awakening. Now that they're in their role, they're like, oh my God. Now the nurses who are still working more clinical, more bedside, I know I definitely had a misconception. I thought, man, when you arrive at salary, you there. Like, you know, there's not so much stress. You don't have to deal with the patients. You don't have to but it is a whole nother set of stress that is more mental, that I think that's not realized. So what would you say to those people, like the comparison, based on your experience? You know, everybody's experience is different, but based on your experience, the comparison from, you know, being in the leadership role to entrepreneurship, and why you are still in it for 2-3 years later.
So that's a great question. And I appreciate that question because, you know, it's like you said, you do have 24-hour accountability. And so one of my main coaching, I mentioned, like I have digital courses, right, for how to start for the other programs. But one of the other things that I actually coach on is coaching nurses who want to go from, maybe they're a bedside nurse and they want to transition to a leadership position, or for those nursing leaders who are novice in their roles and how to navigate those roles. And one of the things that we talk about is work-life balance. And everyone says that there's no work-life balance, right? But when you're in nursing leadership, so as an entrepreneur, I can see why people say like, no, there's no work-life balance in entrepreneurship. In nursing leadership, you can't have it, and you have to take control of it. Because to your point, when you're a nurse leader, we feel like we can't turn off, but we have to learn how to adapt, how to turn off. And because if we don't put ourselves first, we're not going to be good for anyone. We're not going to be good for ourselves. We're not going to be good for our teams. We're not going to be good for our staffs. And we're not going to be good for the role. Exactly. Right. So when you talk about what's the difference between the demands of nursing leadership and the demands of being an entrepreneur, I choose entrepreneurship, right? I do this for me. I do this for my family, right? I choose this. when it comes to being a nursing leader, I don't have to do that because that's for someone else. If this is what you're choosing to do, then you have to understand and recognize what comes along with it. So it's going to come that 24/7 accountability. However, as a nursing leader, and each facility may be different, but you know what? We really don't have to keep those phones on, but we do it because we feel like if we don't, something's going to burn down. We have to learn to turn that cell phone off, right? Because that phone that they give you, that work phone, Friday evening when you walk out the door, turn it off, and it comes back on Monday when you walk back into the door. It's little things that we have to do to disconnect from those roles so that we don't start to intertwine them, because that's what happens when you start to bring work home. Oh, I didn't finish this today, I'll take it home. No, finish it Monday. When you get back in, you finish it Monday. Now, are there going to be exceptions because maybe you have a deadline? But that shouldn't be the consistency, right? That you should not be consistently showing people bringing work home, because what happens to your family? What happens to, your son's football game? Or what happens to your husband wanting to have date night? You keep pushing all of these things off, you're going to lose your family. And that's not what you want.
Don't you feel like there's this like subtle, it's unspoken that is the expectation? Like, no, it's not in black and white and it's not on your contract that you sign, but it's your unit. And it's like for me, when I was in that role as just even as house soup, and sometimes I would relieve for like if somebody went on vacation, I'm like, no, it's not my unit. You sign these checks, not me. Like, I am not okay. And honestly, I feel like that's a part of the brainwashing that happened. It's like subtle. It's not like, hey, you're supposed to. And then you feel bad on the weekend when you got an email and it's like, oh, I got to respond to this. Or you're on vacation and, oh, I got a such and such. And it's just like, no, like,
that's what it is. It's brainwashing. You're right. And that's part of the bias, right? Because in leadership, you're supposed to go to every event that the leadership goes. If you don't come, what happened? No, I was just tired. Like I couldn't make it. Or like my son had something going on, or my family, I couldn't make it. But if you don't come, it's almost like, it's like you said, it's understood. So it's all this pressure that we are brainwashed, right? I like that word. And that we're made to think that that's what we're supposed to do, because when you sign up for this, no, you actually didn't. And you have to wear that advocating for yourself and understanding that, no, you actually didn't, right? You did. Now, if you're more worried about, oh, but look at everything that you're doing for your unit. How's your unit doing? Like, and this is where mentorship comes in, right? Because I wish I had a mentor at that time when I was in nursing leadership. And this is why mentorship has become such like a huge part of my journey. So when you're talking about being able to scale and being able to scale quickly, and because I've had a mentor from not from the exact beginning, but you might as well say from the beginning, from the time I started really scaling and it was because I had a mentor, right? Yeah. And being able to identify those gaps, being able to collapse time. And I wish I had a mentor in nursing, right, to be able to show me and navigate the do's and don'ts of what I should do, because I was doing a lot of things right, but think about how much better I could have done and how much I probably could have prevented the burnout, what I could control. The expectation is, like you said, the expectation is you're supposed to have that phone on. Well, why didn't you know? Well, I didn't know because guess what? I was off. I can remember one time it was a snowstorm. And crazy me, and I was living, so I used to commute. And I was living in the Poconos, and I used to commute. But if you know anything about the Poconos, it snows like a lot there. I was commuting to New Jersey, and I got into an accident. The car just slid. I got into an accident, and I called my admin at the time, and I said, I'm not going to make it. I said, I'm not going to be able to make it. And I just got into an accident. But no, I didn't even say I'm not going to be able to make it. And I just said, I just got into an accident. Don't you know? She called me back, wanting to know what time I was going to be there.
Yeah,
but you didn't make it. I already done took myself, I want to say my blank, self out here where I shouldn't have. I should have stayed home, should have followed my first thought, put me first, stayed home. However, thinking that gotta stay committed, right? Because what they tell us as nurses, I grew up in New Jersey, so we get snowstorms. And as a nurse, I might as well say I grew up as a nurse too. So we would take our backpacks and stay overnight, but that's what you did, right? You packed the bag and you stayed overnight. And, as I got older, I realized, and especially once I had that accident, I was like, wait a minute, what would have happened if I would have been wiped out from my whole family. Who would care? I would have been replaced. And I use it as an example as why putting yourself first is so important. Like, you have to, because what would have happened to my family? And all you wanted to know when I was going to be there. You know, like looking at the phone, like, for real? She wanted to know when I was going to be there because nurses didn't show up. Yeah, because it's a snowstorm. So get your scrubs, right?
Attention, aspiring entrepreneurs in the healthcare industry. Have you ever dreamt of starting your own successful IV hydration business? Well, your dream is about to become a reality. Imagine a business where you can make a difference in people's lives while building a thriving venture. We're excited to invite you to a free webinar that will unlock the secrets to launching a successful IV hydration business. Join us for an exclusive event where industry experts will share invaluable insight on the essential steps to launch your IV hydration business, building a six-figure business from scratch, navigating the challenges in the healthcare entrepreneurship journey. But that's not all. Attendees of the webinar will get a sneak peek into our comprehensive IV Hydration on-demand course. Discover how this course has empowered others just like you to turn their passion into profit. Picture this: lifetime access to in-depth video trainings, business strategies, SOPs, and exclusive bonuses that can catapult your success. Register now for our free webinar at https://apply.trueusavvy. That's truusavvy.com/training. Don't miss this opportunity to kickstart your journey to a rewarding and lucrative IV hydration business.
Response to you saying like the balance with entrepreneur, like what is the difference with entrepreneurship and being in leadership and working a lot also as an entrepreneur? But I want people to remember that you are indefinitely working in that role as a leader there's no time when it ends. It's just like, this is the cycle, versus when you're working a lot as an entrepreneur, you are working, growing, elevating, creating systems with the goal of eventually having that freedom. You just have to build it. So you're in the working phase, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And whether that light is 5 years down the line or 7 years down the line, we don't know. But with you working in a leadership role with 24-hour accountability, that never stops. You guys, like, I want you to understand that. Like, it's not like, okay, once you've been a leader for 7 years, now you get to relax and we're gonna, no ma'am. And if you have not built your foundation solid enough, they are going to take advantage of you every chance they get. So when you talk about boundaries, if you didn't establish that in the beginning and you were trying to just showcase, oh, I'm going to help everybody, flowers and roses in that role, they are going to continue to have that expectation over you and your life. And then when you try to change it and say, wow, then you try to set boundaries like I can't, it's going to be a problem. So it's kind of a huge difference when you're doing because you're building yours. It's yours. Like, that's rain, sleet, or snow, you showing up, you deciding if you're going to be at home versus in the office. Like, you know, you have that choice. If your kid's sick, you can say, I'm pausing right now. Like, I'm focusing on my baby or whatever is happening. Like, you get that. So you get the benefit of being an entrepreneur when you're in your role as an entrepreneur. And I just feel like there's benefits, of course, financial benefits, but could somebody really ever pay you enough for 24-hour accountability? I think we don't realize that. How much? Because they're not going to pay you. Really pay you. So can there ever be an even exchange? No, there cannot. But can there be for something you're building for yourself and may leave a legacy or may leave some financial contribution to your family lineage? Absolutely.
You said it beautifully. It's about legacy. It's about generational wealth. If you want to build wealth, if you're fine with working 9 to 5 and having a paycheck, a consistent paycheck, and you're contributing to your 401k, then stay as an employee. If you want to build wealth, be an entrepreneur. That's what it's about, building a legacy and building generational wealth. And not just for you, but letting generational wealth come from you, right? For your children, for your children's children. Like, that's what generational wealth means, is leaving that legacy.
Hey, Chris, I know you probably have a question, but this is my last. I said I had 2 questions. Although he went on for 30 minutes.
I know.
This is really my last one. I wanted to ask, when you earlier in the conversation, you said that you were burnt out. And like, as you started to go through that, you had quit before you actually launched your business. And then we started talking about your experience with them reminding you of who you are. And I just thought about the fact that Black women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs. And I feel like this is something that is across all industries, all specialties that women of color are experiencing. And I feel like we are the most ignored, but with that being ignored, we're building. We are realizing that no one is coming to save us. So if we want it to happen, we're going to have to do it. Everybody else is focused on every other thing and whatever they're focused on. We are just like silently growing. And I think that's in every industry. And I feel like that racism that some people want to ignore, some people want to say it's not my problem, some people are, allies, but that level of racism is why a lot of us in nursing, but like I said, in other industries, are choosing to start businesses. Now, I want to ask you, when it comes to the level of racism that you may have experienced, I'm sure you probably have other stories, how much of an impact would you say that has made on you as an entrepreneur? The things that you've experienced as a nurse related to like race and stuff like that.
And my business is a direct result of my experiences in healthcare and in healthcare leadership in particular. And writing my book is when I started to really think back to the unconscious bias that I had experienced over the years, but didn't really pay attention to. Like when Obama got elected, how I can remember the nursing unit being like no one wanted to talk. All of the nurses of other races, the Black nurses was one group. And I was like, what is this such a divide? Now this is a unit where everybody, celebrate birthdays and everything else together. And now when our first Black president, nobody wanted to talk. Like, what's going on, right? And so like just thinking back to things like that. And when it comes to my business in particular, I have to say I have all types of clients, right? And so I don't just help African-American clients. I don't just help Latino clients. I'm able to talk and deal with everyone because I always have. In the profession, you're always able to, how you feel has nothing to do with me. Like that's how you feel. And I've been able to really separate because I've been able to identify it. I've lived it, I identified it, and that's not going to control me. So when it comes to my business, I run my business accordingly. And I treat everyone the way I always have as a nurse. I treat the community. Am I able to see certain things through a certain lens? Absolutely. I can remember when I was inquiring about a brick and mortar, and it was this older European gentleman who owned the building, and he was like, well, what's iron being hydration? And, what does that want to do? And like, no, I don't think this is, he's like interviewing me. And I'm like, is he interviewing me? Like, so it was like, maybe he just didn't want business there. And that was fine with me. I'm like, you know what? So that just tells me that this is not where my business needs to be. So we ended up not using that space to opening the IV hydration business, which is fine. We'll keep doing it the way we're doing it. But again, I don't really worry about it too much because I feel like my client is my client. And if I feel like, and the beauty about entrepreneurship is that you can turn people away, right? So if someone comes and I don't appreciate their energy for whatever reason, I don't have to treat them, right? You can't do that in nursing, right? Like we have to take who we get. And, but the beauty of having your own business, you can decide who your client is. I had a lady call the other day and, she was asking me all of these like weird questions. And I was just like, ma'am, like I don't have to waste time with that, right? Like I'm like, ma'am, I don't think we provide the services that you're looking for. And that's it, right? So I hope that answers your question. Like I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it did. Basically what I was just saying is like the experiences we have, it makes us a better entrepreneur. That's all I'm saying. Like, and I mean better entrepreneur because I feel like we become more resilient. We definitely have, it's like you don't want to go back to that or ever be in a situation where you have to deal with that. And I feel like that's I don't want to say beast or monster because that's negative, but like that's the momentum that's happening amongst Black women in this country. It's really what I was leading to because I just feel like those moments, they're stitched in your brain. Like you don't forget those experiences and you want to not be the person that ever subjects anyone to those type of traumas. Absolutely. But then You know, and you have the ability to do that when it's your own business. Like, I know for me, my team, they know, like, I'm big on like value, and like I want it's to feel inclusive in it. And that's a direct reflection of the experiences that I've had that I don't want other people to experience. And so that's what I mean, what I was saying, like with us as entrepreneurs, it's like that's there. But when the benefit of us being out here as first of all, it costs us to say, hey, I can do my own thing. If you don't appreciate me, I'm going, right? But then also we have the ability to bring in people and like help them not feel that way that we felt is basically what I was saying. So yeah, I love it.
It is. Well, Dr. Lendra, can you please let the people know where they can find you, what amazing things that you have going on, and what's coming up in the near future for you?
Absolutely. So they can find me on dljamesconsulting.com. And I actually have a book. Well, since I mentioned that, I have my book, Confessions of a Nurse Executive, The Conscious and Unconscious Bias. That actually is available on my website. That actually wasn't the one I was about to say. What I have upcoming is the Health and Wealth Expo Live Summit. That's actually coming up on October 24th. So that's an in-person summit. So last year earlier this year, we hosted a virtual summit, Health and Wealth Expo virtual summit, and it was just amazing. And it's all about bringing generational wealth, right? Teaching nurses and healthcare professionals, I might have mentioned this earlier in the show, about building generational wealth, right? And so we had business owners, nurse entrepreneurs, nurses in other industries as well. We had attorneys talking about how to start a business. We had nurse practitioners talking about mental health. This time, for the live summit, we're going to have experts talking about real estate syndication. They're going to be talking about branding, right? Personal and professional branding. We're going to be talking about nurse business development, of course. There's so many topics. So it's really about, life insurance. I can't leave that out. Financial literacy. So we're going to be talking about that as well. So it's really going to be, again, and it's not going to be the last one. So we are making this like a thing. So when you start to see, you guys have to be my next, speakers on, and when we do the one virtual, really. So it's really an awesome event. Like I said, we did it virtually and we were asked to do it in person. So we decided to, go to certain cities and do it in person one. So our first city is going to be the National Harbor in Maryland. So that's coming up.
Yeah. When is it? What's the date again? I'm sorry.
It's October 24th. It's in a few weeks, actually. It's in a few weeks, October 24th. It's like an all-day event. It's a one-day event. So yeah, so pretty excited about that. I have my nurse burnout program. I'll stop there because it's too much, but the Health and Wealth.
Yes, and we will link everything in the show notes where you can find out Dr. Lendra's information, where you can find her and how you can look into her courses. Because yet again, we don't even ask a direct question, but mentorship always comes up as a cheat code. So if you haven't already gotten that clue for listening to our podcast, so here's yet another vetted mentor that you guys can seek if you're looking into getting into entrepreneurship. But thank you so much for coming and blessing our podcast with your knowledge, your background, inspiring nurses yet again that they can do this thing called entrepreneurship and build generational wealth, as you were saying, for them and their families. So thank you.
And to all the listeners, you said it was Dale, D-A-L-E. Can you spell it just in case people are listening in their car?
Sure. It's Dr. Lendra James Consulting. So dljamesconsulting.com.
Okay, there you guys go. So some people will listen and won't look at the show notes, so we want to capture that. All right, well, for all those who are listening, thank you guys so much. Make sure you go to the website, see what Dr. Lendra has that she can offer you and help you guys. Like Christal said, we are big, huge proponents of mentorship. I am never without a coach. Christal's never without a coach. In some aspect of our business, we're always being coached. It is super, super powerful, and it elevates you extremely fast, so exponentially. So we cannot push that enough on you guys. And then also, don't gatekeep. Make sure you share this. If you guys are watching this on the YouTube, go ahead and let us know. Comment in the notes. But if you are listening on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, go ahead and you can comment and let us know if there's any other topics you want us to talk about. You want to say something nice to Dr. Lendra, just let us know. Just comment it in the notes and we'll go ahead and shout you out on a later podcast. Until next time, you guys. Bye.
Bye.